let's go ahead and get started here, at least with some introductions. So my name again is Max Shelkoff, and I am with Engage by Sell. I've been here for a couple of years now. Actually, just celebrated, I think today is my official 2 years at Engage by Sell. So how exciting. But I am one of the senior mobile solutions consultants. Again, I'm out of Central Illinois, and I'll kick it over to Casey to introduce himself, and then Cody and Blake, you can follow.
Perfect. So Casey Lowenthal, I'm the customer success manager here. I've been here about almost 7 years, and my role here is to kind of work with our current clients after the sale process to kind of make sure that you guys meet goals, platform works for you, and that you know about all of our features and other kind of platforms that we offer under the Engage by Sell services. I'll pass it to Cody.
Yeah, my name is Cody Wiseman. I am the creative marketing manager here at Visit Rapid City in South Dakota. I've been here for about 5 years and absolutely love everything about it. So yeah, pass it off to Blake.
And I'm Blake Lindsay. I'm the Museum Interpretive Resources Specialist at Ford's Theater Society at Ford's Theater here in Washington, D.C. I actually just celebrated my first full year here at Ford's Theater. And Ford's Theater Society, just for context, we are sort of the private side of the Ford's Theater site, which is run by the National Park Service. So as they're sort of their private partners, we just sort of assist them in their mission.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you
Thanks,
for
guys.
the intros here. And we're also joined by Anna, who's our marketing director, running the slides for me. So if you hear me telling Anna to please launch next slides, I'm not talking to a ghost, I promise. I think we do have a poll here. If you wouldn't mind launching it, Anna, thank you. So let's start off by telling us about what kind of organization you're with, and if you're using any kind of mobile device-based technology. We would love to hear about that and kind of contribute to the discussion based upon that as well. But I don't think us panelists get to participate, so that's okay. But and as we're kind of waiting, we'll give that another 10 seconds or so, but I will kind of discuss a little bit about Engage by Sell as well. So we have been in business for 18 wonderful years now. So as far as mobile device-based technology goes, that's pretty grandfathered in at this point, right? And we are a cloud-based solution, and we offer a full suite of different platforms for mobile touring and wayfinding and communicating and marketing tools, etc., things like that. Anna, you want to go ahead and show some results for that poll? If we have them, perfect, thank you. So we got quite a few people from museums or art galleries and gardens and nature centers, which isn't surprising, historical sites. Fantastic. And it looks like quite a few people are using audio guides, and that doesn't surprise me. Obviously, that tech's been around for a long time, and that's actually kind of the first technology we started with 18 years ago, was providing audio guides, and are still one of the larger providers in the country for that service. But I'm excited to see some smartphone tours getting adapted in there as well. And then there's a lot of you who haven't adapted to anything yet, and that's probably why you're here to learn, right? Okie dokie. All right. So again, about Engage by Sell, 18 years in business. We've been doing it a long time. There's some examples of some of our clients. Many of those have been around with us almost since the beginning. So, all right, next slide, pretty please. So what tours or services do we provide for mobile touring, right? So what are we going to talk about today? Kind of touched on the audio guide there. In the beginning, obviously that's a call-in based audio guide. So we used to rent those big headsets, right? And we'd walk around with the pre-recorded things and hit the buttons. And we've since transitioned to basing it around our cell phones and smartphones. So you can call in and get that experience, or those audio guides can live within our smartphone tours as well. So those smartphone tours are a full comprehensive mobile web app that enable you to put in all kinds of engagement and memorable experiences in your visitors' hands, and also within that kind of facilitate engagement and information accessibility, etc. digital membership cards we're all starting to get more and more familiar with, right? If we have been somewhere, I was just at out in Washington, D.C. visiting with Blake and some of our other clients out there. But when I visited the Smithsonian, you have to kind of check in and they deliver your little digital membership card straight to your phone. So out with the paper and in with the digital is kind of the way we're all going. And then scavenger hunts is a fun little piece there where you can incorporate a lot of different engagement activities and get people to actually participate throughout your facility. And the most exciting one of them all to some people is the GPS mapper. So throwing out those old paper maps, right, and incorporating some cool interactive digital maps that actually include wayfinding services so you can see where you navigate as you walk through the different facilities. And included in those GPS maps are, of course, little points of interest where they're clickable and you can pop up and see, hey, what's way over on the other side of the park? I can click on that point of interest and then read about it, see what I'm anticipating going to it, and include other little pieces of engagement like audio files and videos and quizzes, etc., all those different pieces there. So those are pretty much the core services that we're going to be discussing today. But I'm going to kick it over to Casey and Cody to discuss about Visit Rapid City, South Dakota, and what they're doing over there.
Perfect. Yeah, so thanks, Max. Yeah, so we have Cody joining us from Rapid City, South Dakota, the known as the City of Presidents. And the initial kind of take on our platform was the President's Tour that they have in their downtown area. I'll let Cody kind of touch on that. But they actually use a combination of 4 of the 5 services that Max showed on the previous slide. So they have audio tour, smartphone tour with built-in GPS mapping, and then that also has a scavenger hunt option that Cody and I have been working on for the last month or so to hopefully replace some of their paper versions of that and go fully digital. So we'll touch on kind of all of that, but thanks for joining us, Cody.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So kind of the first question that I'm going to touch on today is what are kind of your biggest hurdles that you guys face at Rapid City with visitor engagement?
Yeah, specifically for the City of Presidents. So for those that don't really know what that even means, we have every president in a bronze statue on all of our downtown street corners. So every one of them that has been out of office or is no longer politically active. So right now we are all the way through Obama, and we're just going to keep working on some of those other presidents. So Trump's statue has been made, and we're just kind of waiting on to see what happens with him before we actually place that. So yeah, so for our biggest hurdles, we do see a lot of people coming in, and we've had, as Casey mentioned, we had those the paper scavenger hunts, and that's how we kind of gauged if people were using it. But we also had that online where they could, maybe look at the PDF version online, but it didn't work as well. And we really wanted to be able to track and understand how much do these presidents really drive downtown engagement. So to understand those analytics, I mean, we're very analytic driven. We want to make sure that everything we decide and all the decisions we make are based off of data. So having this piece and getting a lot of that stuff also, I mean, we get those analytics, but we're also providing a much better, just customer experience with these tours as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, not every version of our organizations that we work with buy a ticket to purchase, but you still provide services for them. So having some data to track, just anybody could walk up and view it, just to kind of show that's great. It's a good option for you guys. Appreciate that. Why now? Why did you guys decide at this point to hop into mobile technology, and maybe a little bit of what initially kept you guys from doing it before and why now?
Yeah, so there's a lot of factors that go into that. A lot of just organizational factors. The City of Presidents have had a board of directors that have been doing it for a long time. They're slowly wanting to get out. So the business that they used to have a visitor center downtown where you can get some more information about that. That no longer exists. We've actually kind of just taken all of that over. So slowly over the past couple of years, it's been falling more and more on us And for us here at Visit Rapid City, all we want to do is make sure that every visitor who's out here is getting the absolute best experience. And knowing that all of these are downtown and just such a hit, we wanted to really bring them to life. You know, the statues are great and they're awesome to see, but the mobile solution with this was able to give a voice to each one of these presidents rather than it just being a matter of a picture. They could hear from their stories. You know, they could read a little bit more up on them if they don't want to, you know, do the audio tour itself. They want to look at the mobile app. They can. We also added on each one of our tours. Towards the bottom, we have a recommendation from each president. So whatever it is that they might have been more interested in during their presidency, we try to match that with a business or park or monument or anything around this area, and that just kind of circulates all the visitors that we get and trying to get them to go to other parts of town. So I think it was really just a matter of awesome timing with everything kind of coming more to us, that we just decided we wanted to really just make the visitor experience the best as possible.
That's great. I think some organizations' apprehension is kind of the workload of building out these technologies. How was your guys' experience in building out the content that you display out to your visitors?
Yeah, so we kind of divided it up a little bit. I personally built out our entire mobile layout and design, and I gotta be honest, it was relatively simple. I mean, you know, from just a matter of the longest time intensive thing is just to really upload all of the different audio files that we need to do. But I mean, once I made a basic layout of a page and kind of decided exactly what it is that I wanted, I could just copy that page and make the rest of the 42 presidents that we had in our downtown streets. So that process was really great. Another thing that was super awesome is I had a couple different questions and I didn't know how to do stuff. And the live chat that was there, I mean, I got my problem fixed within maybe 10 minutes and I was good to go. You know, Casey, me and you even worked a little bit about our scavenger hunt and trying to figure out what can we do there, because it's a little bit different than other scavenger hunts. And you guys were willing to work with us so well and even made some changes in order to help us adapt to exactly what it is that we needed. So, yeah, I feel like the whole process was pretty seamless.
Great. Yeah, what Cody's referring to is we have a digital scavenger hunt option, but theirs wasn't a step-by-step. You could answer the questions in any order, and because it's a walking tour, you're going to close your phone, you're going to walk, you're going to hit crosswalk. So it was a way to have the user enter their phone number and pull back up their kind of sheet, so to say, of questions that they answered. So they can kind of do it at their own time. And that was brought on by Cody kind of voicing, hey, could it do this? And that's kind of how we like to do our things, is the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So you ask and we can make some updates and make it function for everybody. So yeah, glad to hear that it wasn't too much of a burden for you guys to take on.
Yeah, absolutely.
With our platform too, one thing that organizations like to know is how visitors are finding out about this service. Would you mind showing us or describing a little bit about how you guys get the word out of the smartphone tour and the audio guide?
Yeah, you know, we definitely have some paid media that goes behind it, whether that's paid social or paid search or anything like that. We have landing pages on our website that specifically, you know, state exactly everything that they can get, because City of Presidents on our website is one of our most popular things that we have. So we have a dedicated landing page to showcasing what exactly they can experience while they're out here. But then on top of that, we actually ended up working with the city. So in that bottom image you can see on the screen, you can see audio tour with the QR code. We worked with the city to get actual bronze plaques installed on every one of the presidents. So that was a really big feat. And it just kind of helps because people are going to be downtown anyway. So to really see that audio tour all throughout town, I mean, it goes across 6 different blocks along our streets. It's just really grabbing that out. And then that top picture, you can actually see one of our presidents. So we got Nixon there with his, you know, invigorating pose. And in the back, we created these large banners. So our downtown streets have these really big kiosk areas all throughout. So we ended up getting about 12 of those printed and, you know, showcasing just the audio tour as well as a QR code to see what the app was. And we really wanted to showcase how great the app looks. I mean, that entire side of it, that mobile experience that they're getting is really awesome. So we ended up getting a nice little phone screenshot to to show how it looks and give them exactly what they can expect to see.
Awesome. Yeah, and you guys do a great job of marketing it on your website as well, making it super easy for visitors that may be planning their trip to know that that's available to them even before they get access to it. And then being a cloud-based platform, we don't require any sort of download. So the barrier to entry for visitors to get access to our services is minimal. And we think that, or we know that over time just allows for more visitors to get access to it. Downloading an app definitely will limit how many people are going to access it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for specifically for this, we have a demographic who really likes to look at these are a little bit older. So making it as simple as possible when it comes to smartphones has been very, very helpful.
Perfect. Yeah, great. Like all industries, especially South Dakota, which we talked a little bit about weather before everybody hopped on, has a busy season. What are you guys kind of anticipating for the usage of this now that the weather is breaking a little bit and leading up to probably 4th of July, and Rapid City probably gets pretty busy with Mount Rushmore nearby. So what's kind of your guys' goals moving forward for this season?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't have the specific stats of how many visitors we get, but it's in the millions every single summer. So, we're very busy from May all the way almost till the end of October. That's our real busy season. We also just opened a visitor center right in our downtown district as well. So that's exciting. So we're going to be able to push this out even more. So our goals are really just to see how much we can push out for this. We've also created a trifold brochure that includes all of this information on there as well. So anytime a visitor comes into our visitor center, we're making sure to give them that. We just want to see as much as possible, specifically with that scavenger hunt. We offer prizes for that as well, just to get people more, enticed with it. So we're really just hoping to see, just tons and tons of engagement, and we're excited to look at that data too. So we haven't necessarily gotten anything recently. We've had people coming on to the app, but it hasn't been as big of a boom as we're really looking for starting, towards end of May and June.
Awesome. Yeah, well, that's all great information. Before we hop over to Blake, any final words about the platform or mobile technology at all?
Yeah, I would just say it's pretty awesome. It's one, as being a marketer, it was one of the easiest things I've had to do. A lot of things in marketing are very difficult. So just to have a nice platform to where it really kind of just nails exactly what it is that you're wanting to do for something like this for our city of presidents was just awesome. And you guys were super great and helped us out so much along every step of the way.
Awesome. Thank you, Cody. Yeah, it's been a pleasure working with you guys, and we're excited to see kind of how everything progresses over the next few months.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll pass it back to Max and Blake.
Thank you. Cody, I'm going to steal some of your data to transition into Mr. Blake and I's talk. We did pull some of your data from across the City of Presidents tour, and the #1 visited president on the entire tour was who, Blake? It was your guy, Abraham Lincoln, right?
You can't escape him. He's a part of our culture.
That's right. That is right. So those of you who aren't familiar with Ford's Theater, right? It is a historical site, has a wonderful museum that Blake and his team kind of curate and work with and provide tours to. And it is a theater, and it's still an operating theater, right, Blake? Don't you still? Yep.
That is correct. We have a little shop of horrors on our stage right now.
That's awesome. I love that. So it is, famous for an unfortunate event. And it is where President Lincoln met his untimely demise by, John Wilkes Booth. But as it's kind of carried on, it's become obviously a very important historical site because of that. And the different platform rather that you've been utilizing for how long? We're almost at what, 8 months, 9 months. So it's still fairly new to your organization, I think, but it's kicked off super well. But utilizing the smartphone tour and built in some fun scavenger hunts. And then who is your target market when you're using the platform, Blake?
target market really was school groups, and anyone is welcome. But you can see in the title, we call it the Ford's Theater Student Guide, and we really built it with visiting school groups in mind, specifically, those eighth graders that we so often get. I think it's accessible to fifth graders, but really anyone of school age who's here on a field trip, which we get, dozens, hundreds every year.
Right, perfect. And any of those of you who are on the call, if you want to check out Blake's mobile web app, you can scan that QR code there at the top of the slide. And we'll keep going here real quick. All right, so I can imagine, Blake, you said your target audience is these kind of junior high, early high school, maybe some younger tour groups as well. I'm sure there are some hurdles associated with getting engaged with those visitors. You want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think there's two hurdles. One is kind of more logistical. So the Park Service runs this site, as I was saying, whereas me and my colleagues, we work kind of behind the scenes. We're mostly across the street. We engage personally with local school groups. We have, free local school field trip programs. But for all those national and international visitors that come in, we don't get an opportunity to speak with them face to face. And our Park Service partners, we get many thousands per day. They can't talk to everyone either. So how do we reach as many people as possible, especially those school groups that are coming, for which Ford's Theater is and has always been kind of part of the pantheon of places you come to. I remember coming here in fifth grade. And so this was kind of our to reach them, especially because of these kind of more the second hurdle, which is kind of more social in nature. And that is, they're here on school field trips, and really their schedules are like presidents. They come to Ford's Theater, they have an hour and a half or two here. Okay, get on the bus, let's go to the Capitol building. We have an hour and a half there. Okay, now we got to go to the mall. They're running around so much, they're given a tuna sandwich in between, said, here you go, eat this on the bus. And just attention span, just naturally, it's hard to really keep that attention when they're already out with their friends. They're already feeling kind of punch drunk. They're happy to be out of the classroom. So it's at once a hurdle, but also an opportunity to kind of hit them when they're in that mood. But yeah, there's just limited attention span and bandwidth to give them like these really intense learning experiences.
Of course. And I think it goes along with the same fact of, and I'm guilty of it myself, these have become so incorporated into everything that we do, no matter what, right? And that's just the fact of the world we live in, right? And especially with a younger demographic. So you need to kind of overcome those engagement challenges by incorporating what they're already going to be using, no matter what you do, right? They're going to be on TikTok, they're going to be on YouTube, whatever it is, right? But if you can build that experience into the device, then you're getting a leg up, right? So fantastic. Thank you, Blake. If you want to go to the next slide, pretty please. So
Yeah.
obviously Ford's Theater has been around a long time, right? And you and your team have been working on a lot of different experiences. And I know as we were kind of in the past year working on initiating this jump to provide some digital solutions, what were some of the main deciding factors for you?
I mean, this goes back to a digital strategy that I think was first kind of put together here at Ford's Theater maybe in 2015, maybe even earlier than that. So that predates me, and part of that was some kind of mobile solution. I think that was kind of on the front end of these types of things really kind of coming into their own. And I mean, the mobile solution makes so much sense for every reason you just said. They're already on their phone anyway. I go down there, even with school groups I'm taking around, there's going to be periods where they're going to be TikToking. And so they're going to be on these things anyway. And I've often noticed that when they're on their phones, it's often in a social setting. They're not siloed, cloistered by themselves. They're on their phone with
Right.
multiple faces over the screen. So this is just built
That's interesting.
into how
Yeah.
students socialize, how they interact, not just with the world, but with each other. And why not hack into that, right? If we have this limited kind of bandwidth to reach them, why not just hack into what they're already kind of using?
That's
it's
super interesting.
And especially,
I don't know that I've heard that, I think as we're a little bit older and things like that, none of us grew up necessarily with a smartphone in our hand. I think we kind of stereotypically envision, you know, just all the youngsters just staring and not associating, right? But it's interesting that you've kind of picked up on the social dynamic of that, and that's, I think, a important part is, and that's what we're working with a lot of museums and cultural institutions, is how do we make the experience on the device as impactful as possible. And
Yeah.
I think that's really fascinating that you've noticed that, you know, they congregate with multiple multiple students staring at one screen, sharing that experience together. I think that's really, really
And in fact,
impactful.
I've just noticed when I've rolled this out kind of live and just sort of taken a fishbowl approach and watched them use the site, that's often how they do it, is they do it in groups, which may not help our numbers. Like, you know, think about it, that's 3 to 4 users on one user we're seeing here, but I really do see how they use this as a sort of social activity. Um,
Yeah.
which is great. That's, I think, how these experiences are best done. They learn together. They may not even realize they're learning together. They're just sort of facing this little challenge, and they're
That's the
using it to
trick.
kind of scratch that thing in their brain that we like when it's like, I figured something out. We figured
Yeah,
something out.
we figured it out.
Which, yeah, it's a great little mental treat for students, and
Yeah.
I think learning really happens well in that environment.
Perfect. All right. Well, next slide, pretty please, Anna. So obviously Cody kind of shared some of his experiences too, with how they market their services out in the city. And I think they're doing a fantastic job, and everybody's going to do something a little bit similar. Blake, I'll jump in and kind of say, just because I was recently there visiting, right? The first thing I see when I hop out my Uber to visit is obviously the huge long lines of people waiting to come into the museum, right? Or into the theater. And first thing I see is your big giant banner plastered on the side of the building, scan this QR code. So I think you've done a fantastic job of identifying that, you know, not necessarily a bottleneck, but that's where people are going to congregate, right? In line. And obviously there's always going to be long lines, and you provided accessibility there. Are there any other kind of tricks or places or thoughts or future plans you have to market the services?
Yeah, and this is, I'm glad you brought this up because, you know, really, we've only launched this really at the end of February. So I would argue we're still kind of in an open beta, phase one at
Yep.
least, in terms of rolling
Yep.
this out, developing it. And the only thing we've really done so far is put up, you know, that big sign on the window. We have some stanchion toppers in the line. When they get inside, we have a few signs in the bathroom, and we have a
Yep.
TV screen that cycles through a couple, you know, for example, what we have on our stage, and there's, you know, this slide is in that. So there's really kind of a choke point for them to get it, and right now we're leaning very heavily on that. So we're still kind of rolling out some things. One thing we're rolling out is sort of an accordion brochure that will be at, you know, the box office when they pick up their tickets, which I have a lot of high hopes for that, putting this in people's hands, because you know, the museum is technically Park Service property. We can't just slap these signs up everywhere. We actually don't have any signage currently in the museum. We're working with them on that, and they've been really great partners. And actually, I just got a printout that I need to put down there, but we're going to have a sign there, which I think will be a big help in terms of getting it, not just getting it there, but keeping them with it.
Yeah.
Which we're doing good on that. We're averaging about 5 page views per user, so they're getting into the experience. But that's just sort of the passive. Yes, someone mentioned, you know, putting the QR code in the ticket. We're putting them on the group confirmations, so we're working with our partners here in the office on that. But one thing I'm very excited to do is to roll this out as part of a new programming initiative. Me and my colleague Park Service Rangers, we really want to activate the museum more with like a little tabletop kind of passive, casual, interactive sort of program where we have primary sources that are connected to the site where we talk about it. But hey, here's this QR code. Hey, here, I see you're a group here. Why don't you check this out? Hey, the first, you know, 2 or 3 that can go to this, find this one thing in the exhibit for me, find it on the site, come back to me, you get a keychain, right? Kind of like Cody was mentioning, sort of prize, sort of activating that to make it a more kind of experience where when students, really visitors, whoever, when they walk out of the site, of all the things that they've done here in DC, all the great, wonderful things that they've seen. Hey, man, wasn't it cool how we kind of used our cell phones and we talked with someone and we got that kind of personal touch in a city where that's hard to do because of all the volume. It's hard to give those kind of personal, kind of more intimate experiences to people.
Experiences. Yeah.
So really excited to roll that out. So hitting a couple different initiatives there.
I'm excited to see what it comes because I mean, I'm assuming you're coming right. Probably we're just in busy season with the cherry blossoms as we rolled out and having super high volume, and that'll obviously carry right on through with the summer. So I'm excited to see what these different initiatives produce numbers wise. That'll be exciting.
Yeah.
All right. So we obviously have touched on a couple of the goals here from a marketing perspective and experience and getting the individuals to leave with, you know, remembering something personalized potentially or something. But I think more so, are there goals that you have in mind from the learning perspective and really providing more of, you know, an example of something for the upcoming months with the students and stuff like that that you're working on? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, gosh, a lot. Even though we've just rolled it out, we haven't really mobilized even, I would say, half of our rollout strategy. We're still seeing good numbers, and not just good numbers, but good engagement with not just the sort of multiple choice scavenger hunt, right or wrong things, but we also built into each sort of stop a sort of dialogic question, some big kind of life question that has to do with the material in the exhibit. That's something that's really important to our interpretive philosophy. When they come here, we want to make this history relevant, not just by, why is it important in terms of our country's history, but why is this just important to us as citizens, as people? And so we ask them questions like, hey, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you repair a relationship in need of fixing? Learning about the Civil War. And what's been really great is actually seeing that engagement, that students are looking at those questions and answering them honestly and thoughtfully. I just pulled up a report. Someone just yesterday, what do you want your legacy to be? That I was a good person. And it's that kind of asynchronous conversation that we can't get all the time. That is really awesome to see because it tells us, hey, they're thinking about this. Maybe they're walking out of here with something maybe a little bit better, bigger in their heart than that was there before. And that's really what the kind of experience we want to create. We feel like this history needs to create, should make us better. So the goal, it's not something I don't know if we can quantify, but I want to keep seeing more of that. Not just more of that, but how can we actually use that material to create conversations maybe online through social media, to show, hey, this is what a child can come here and learn. What can we as grown-ups learn by sort of kind of reflecting on these questions? So I'd say the biggest goal is to see more of that. In terms of kind of more kind of quantify, right now we're hovering about 3% or so. We'd like to get that up to about 8%. And then I'd like to kind of move into phase 2 of the site where we expand to other exhibits and other parts of the site to kind of keep that experience really going. So yeah, those are the biggest goals.
Thank you. And I think all of us, and I'm very guilty of it, get lost in the quantitative pieces of things, right? And I really appreciate and really, really, really like the fact that you are taking a really qualitative approach to things as well. And that ultimately a lot of times gives us more insight on if it's working or not, versus just numbers. And that's a really unique, cool perspective you guys have deployed and are seeing results. So I'm excited about that. Next slide, pretty please, Anna. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Blake and Mr. Cody, for your insights and your thoughts and your experiences on utilizing our platforms. And we're going to open it up real quick to allow our visitors here. I'm going to keep calling them visitors because we're talking about museums, but our participants, give them the opportunity to ask some questions, and we'll do our best to answer here. And if you have any questions for Cody or Blake about their specific experiences, feel free to shoot them down into that chat window as well. And just also keep in mind, this is recorded and we will distribute this with the slides to everybody who attended. So don't be afraid if you feel like you missed something. And also, please always feel free to reach out to us at Engage by Cell. You can go to engagebycell.com or email info@engagebycell.com as well there. But we'll give it a couple more minutes. But I just want to say thank you again, Cody and Blake. I think it's interesting that there was and this didn't click on my brain until a couple days ago, but it was very presidential themed presentation today, right? That's always fun when you get something like that to happen. And I think it's unique that we get kind of across the US based on this conversation. Casey being in California, I'm in Illinois, Cody's in South Dakota, Blake's on the East Coast. I think that's always interesting. We got a question here for the school mobile tour. What has the response been from educators who bring their students? That is a fantastic question. And Blake, I'll go ahead and kick that one to you, buddy.
It's more anecdotal right now because we haven't really rolled out any evaluation tools for teachers. But with some of our in-person field trips, we sort of tested it with them. The response was really good. They liked the fact because we really the scavenger hunt is we really tied it to certain learning objectives. Something in this exhibit we feel is the big takeaway. So we ask a question and to get the students to read the text, to look at the pictures, to find that really big thing. So in that sense, it's been received really positively. And we have kind of, I would say, two types of educators that come here. The teachers, of course, that are bringing the school groups, but many of these school groups will also hire sort of tour companies, such as World Strides, and maybe y'all have seen these before. I was able to sort of find one of them in the museum and tell them about it. They responded really positively to it as well. In fact, considering that students get maybe tops 35, 40 minutes in our museum, one thing that they really liked about it is it packs a lot of punch for a limited amount of time that they get. It's actually a really efficient way to experience the museum and get some kind of learning out of it.
I think another interesting piece that might show its face here as we kind of continue to, Blake, is they can, because they're often, limited, like you said, on time, they'll be able to take a piece of the experience with them, right? So they'll be able to scan that, have the mobile web app experience on their phone. And, if they weren't completely done with the experience, they can hop back on the bus and keep learning about Ford's Theater if it really engaged them. So
Yeah, our reports consistently show that there's engagement. There's users as late as 1-2 o'clock in the morning, and we think maybe that's what that is.
Yep.
We're not entirely sure, but
Definitely.
That's
Back at the
great.
hotel, and you're viewing some stuff, like going back and getting some trivia for the next day.
oh, hey, I forgot about that. What did I see? Yeah. Hey, that's great.
Yep. Yeah. And Whitney, I want to add a piece to that too. And I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Blake, but I think kind of phase 2, phase 3, what we'll kind of initiate and see here too is creating more curated educational experiences for specific age groups as well, because of a lot of our customers do that. So you can have specific experiences for, the 4th, 5th, 6th graders, the 7th, 8th graders. You can kind of cater these pieces of engagement more specifically to age groups if needed and things like that. So I'm sure that'll be something that we embark on here in the near future as well, Blake. So excellent question, Whitney. If there's no more questions, I'll go ahead and wrap this up for everybody. But thank you for those who attended. Thank you, Cody and Blake again. Thank you, Casey. And we will definitely be emailing this out to everybody as a recorded version. And then if you have any questions, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. But thanks again and have a great rest of your week.